Welcome back, everyone. Let me just check. Hold on, mute that. Yep, we started. We're good. Alright, so a good number of stuff to talk about today. I'll take this in case we get water or ground types along the way. So, let's see. I kept on forgetting to mention this. It was officially revealed that Glenn Powell is going to be voicing Fox McCloud in the Mario Galaxy movie. Even though by now, as of this moment, the movie already came out. It came out yesterday. And I haven't seen it yet. Gonna see when my friends and I can go watch it together. I'm hearing a lot of negative reviews about it. I heard this in particular, that the movie visually looks nice, but the plot is boring. I'm gonna have to watch the movie and judge for myself. Okay, so got a couple of things to show you guys. First of all, I want to let you guys know on a sin I made yesterday. And I really can't believe I can't believe I've done this. So yesterday was April 1st. Yesterday, you know, was April Fool's Day. Yesterday was the day the Mario Galaxy movie came out. However, yesterday was also Billy's birthday. Yesterday being Billy's birthday, yesterday on April 1st was Billy's 19th birthday. And something I like to do in Pokemon Go, whenever we get the shiny mythicals in the Masterworks research, I like to hold off on actually catching them until a special day comes. I had, or I still have, shiny Keldeo just waiting to be caught, and I was going to catch it yesterday. But as you guys can see here on my phone, I forgot to catch it yesterday. I had 24 hours and I fucking forgot. Look. This is my phone. I'm showing you guys right now. I have I have shiny Keldeo ready to be caught. I was going to catch it yesterday on April 1st, on Billy's birthday. But I forgot. I fucking forgot. I had 24 hours and I forgot. So, no. I will not catch it. I will not catch it until another special day comes. I know I said that I was probably going to catch it on Toby's birthday, so July 17th. But then I realized that majority of my shiny mythicals I haven't caught on Billy's birthday. Hold on, let me show you. Let me just look. Let me just find it. Okay, as you can see here, these are my shiny mythicals in dex order. Or rather, should I do recent? No, actually, let's do the first. Alright. Well, special days, you know? Whatever. So, I got this shiny Celebi Valentine's Day of 2021. I can't really see the screen, but it's okay. So I got this Valentine's Day. I got Shiny Mew, that's my birthday. I got Shiny Jirachi, this is Toby's birthday, July 17th. This is my sister's birthday. It was just the closest special day coming up, so I caught it on my sister's birthday. And then, this is Toby's birthday again. I realized that I haven't caught a Shiny Mythical on Billy's birthday, April 1st. So I wanted to do it this year, so yesterday, but I fucking forgot. So, I am going to hold off on catching Shiny Keldeo until a special date comes again, and I actually remember this time. I am so ashamed of myself. I had 24 hours to do one simple thing, and I completely forgot. You know, it's like, why didn't I just do it at midnight? The moment it hit midnight, why didn't I just do it then? I can't see. I think that's a Xatu. I can't see what that is. Oh, that's a... Nope. Nope, 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 nope. Not doing that. While we're on my phone, I also want to show you guys this. Let me just open the app. Okay, so let me show you this. As of today, Pokemon Home has updated to be compatible with Legends ZA, and as you can see, I already got my Pokédexes complete. All 3 of them. Surprisingly, 3 of them. So my ZA Pokédexes are complete, my Hyperspace, or I should say my Lumiose Dex is complete, my Hyperspace Dex is complete, and one I didn't expect, a Mega Evolution Dex. All complete. I just want to flex in front of you guys that right now, as of this moment, all of my home Pokédexes are complete, including Pokemon Go. As complete as it can be up to this moment in time. Because not every Pokemon has released, and some Pokemon cannot go into home, like Spinda, like Zygarde, like Eternatus. They cannot be registered. So yeah, I just want to flex that real quick, that aside from all the mainline games, I also have Pokemon Go home decks done. The most recent Pokemon that released as of this moment is Mimikyu. Mimikyu released in Pokemon Go yesterday on April 1st. So yeah, my Pokédex, my home Pokédex for Pokemon Home is complete as of this moment. So, whatever the shiny reward is for ZA, I will be ready. You know, I heard rumors, or not heard rumors, but I saw data miners say that there is no program texture or whatever for Shiny AZ Floette. So that kind of hints to me that Shiny AZ Floette will not be I couldn't decide to say reward or prize, I said rise. Oops. I mean, aside from AZ's Floette, there can really only be like 3 other options. And I feel like one of them stands out more than the other 2. It can either be Diancie, Hoopa, or Volcanion, and I think Hoopa makes the most sense. Oh yeah, while we're at it, I also wanted to show you this. I gotta go back into my Pokemon Go app. Okay, so let's see. Today, I did a remote lucky trade for this. I got a remote trade lucky Stonejourner, or as the Pokemon Company has officially, made its pronunciation known, Stonejarnar. So I got me a lucky trade Stonejarnar today. And how are the IVs, you ask? Terrible. Wait, is that? Yeah, 1, or is that 2? No, that's 1. 1 higher than the floor. Well, just my luck. But, well, I finally got this regional in my game. A lucky Stonejarnar, which is just shy of the floor. You gotta love it. Okay, we have 2 shows to talk about today, but before we do, let me show you this. Earlier today, my amiibos for Super Mario Galaxy came, and these things are huge! They're massive. Look, I took a picture for you to show. These amiibos are absolutely enormous. The picture kind of doesn't do them justice on how big they are. I just had to show you the size comparison, so I took a picture of them next to their, original classic amiibos. They are massive! Absolutely enormous. And you know what? So Nintendo has been making more and more large amiibos. I'm sure you've noticed. Excuse me. Like the Kirby Air Riders. These ones here, well, the Monster Hunter amiibos have always been massive. But it seems like Nintendo is leaning more towards making massive amiibos for some reason. Ooh! I see water and I see go round. But I see an ice and steel type in front of me. That's not good. Alright, tell you what. I will swap for this just to make sure no one else takes it. I'm not risking an NPC taking a Alolan Sandslash into Heatran. So yeah, these amiibos are getting bigger and bigger. I'm not gonna lie, I'm running out of space. I've stopped opening my amiibos just because they, why open them when you can see them perfectly fine in the packaging? But like, I'm running out of space. I only have so much space to store unopened amiibos. And like, well, the amiibos, they seem to be getting bigger and bigger, taking more and more space. So it's like I'm gonna run out of space even faster now. Do I dare do the dreaded act of opening them? I mean, to be fair, half my collection is opened. The other half is sealed. I don't think my display case, which is pretty massive, I don't think my display case has enough room if I were to open all of them. But I really do question. You remember that Detective Pikachu amiibo, the massive one? Well, here's a picture. I took a picture of the 2 Mario Galaxy amiibos next to it, and bam! Yo, it's like the exact same size! But, I'm thinking, why did they even bother making the Detective Pikachu amiibo so big? Why did they even bother? You know? I can understand why they made these ones bigger, you know, there's more detail to put on them. But, like, the Detective Pikachu, why? Like, even the base is bigger. I'm pretty sure the base for these Mario Galaxy ones are the same size as, you know, every other amiibo. But yeah, the more I think about it, the more that the Detective Pikachu amiibo just seems like an anomaly. Anyway, so, Pokemon Home is updated to be compatible with Legend ZA, which means I failed in terms of getting a shiny Charmander as a starter in Fire Red before the update happens. I failed. So, who knows how long it'll be until I actually get that shiny. Because now that Pokemon Home is updated, now that I'm actually able to play Legend ZA again, I'm gonna continue my grind in that game. I stopped playing because I ran out of box space. I took a look at my game earlier, as I was cleaning it out, thanks to Home being compatible now. I only had like 229 shinies in it. And, well, you might be wondering, how are my boxes so filled? Well, that's because I had an entire Living Dex, I had an entire Alpha Dex, and, you know, whatever room I had left was occupied by all of the, you know, the shinies. I'm realizing that's Pyukumuku. That's terrible. It doesn't have any water moves. Wow, this path is suddenly not as good as I thought. Oh yeah, did you guys notice that when I showed you the Keldeo? Did you notice that I am currently on page 3? Page 3 of 10 for the Shiny Deontay research? I'm trying to get the Shiny Deontay as quick as possible, that way I have it available. I can save it, and I have it available for any other special date that's coming. Ideally, I get it before July, you know? Because that way, I can catch it on either Toby's birthday or Sky's birthday. Toby's birthday, July 17th, Sky's birthday, July 15th. But I do realize that after this, page 4 is going to be another visit Pokestops on 21 different days, so it's going to be 6 weeks of time gates, which is absolute bullshit. Well, regardless, I'm trying to get it done as quick as possible. Okay, well, I think that's all I wanted to show on my phone. So we have 2 shows to go over today. So my mistake last time when I said that there isn't anything to talk about today, my mistake. Today we have another episode of Invincible, Season 4, Episode 5. And then the next episode of Daredevil Born Again Season 2, Episode 2. I'll take this just to, you know, save a life. Save a heart, I should say. So today we only have 2 shows to go over. I actually debated, do I want to watch Ted Season 2? And like, when Ted... I only talk about Ted when there's like nothing else to talk about. Well, one, I decided not to do that since it would be pretty inconsistent, and then I may talk about Ted episodes like once every 2 weeks potentially, considering how many shows are coming out. And 2, I didn't have enough time to watch Ted for today. But who knows, maybe. Maybe sometimes like this, where there just isn't enough content for me to talk about to fill out these run times, I'll talk about a Ted episode. Wait, did Toxic even work? What happened? Wait, then how did Morpeko get poisoned? Ain't it stupid that Araquanid isn't using water moves against this thing? Nice amiibos? Thanks. You mean these? Yeah, money well spent. Look how big they are. Okay, let me just plug in my phone. Alright, so we have 2 things to talk about today. We have Invincible, and we have Daredevil. What a pairing. Did you watch the new episode of Invincible yet, Mr. No Shame in Feeding? You know, Mr. Feeding? No? Oh. Well, I am about to tear this episode a new one. Kind of like the way this episode ended. Oh yeah, I do want to... there was one thing I forgot to show a picture of, so just take my word for it. A friend of mine sent me a brand new Hot Wheels. At least I think it's brand new. My friend collects Hot Wheels. I used to, but, you know, same thing. I stopped collecting because too much money being spent. Which I know sounds stupid considering how many amiibos I buy. What was the other show? Daredevil. There's no new episode of Monarch yet. I think those premiere on Fridays. And today is Thursday. And The Boys isn't out yet. Look at this dude. Wait, talk about Daredevil. I'm gonna watch Invincible right now. Should I Mud Slap to lower the accuracy? Heat Wave's accuracy is pretty ass. Man, fine. Watch this be a mistake. But yeah, my friend sent me a screenshot, or a picture of a brand new Arizona Hot Wheels. Yes, the drink. Arizona Hot Wheels. It's the design of the iconic Arizona can, painted on a 1991 Mazda MX-5 Miata. And it's like, damn, I feel like I kind of need to have this, low-key. But then he told me that it's like, at whenever this comes out, it's gonna be like US exclusive first, and I'm just like, fuck! Yo, road trip to New York? for a Hot Wheels car? We're gonna go to the counter, me and him, and we're gonna be like, ah, kind sir, 2 of your finest Arizona Hot Wheels, please, as we pull up in our 3-piece suits. I think it would be absolutely hilarious to do that one day, like, jokingly but seriously. One of my friends and I, we find something we both are passionate about, and we genuinely pull up in suits to really make an occasion to procure said item. Like, imagine me and No Shame in Feeding, we go together in 3-piece suits for a Bakugan. Oh, we actually did lose this. Oh well. Dude, are you actually watching Invincible right now? What do we have here? Nothing good! Well, the best thing I see is probably this double-edged sword. Doesn't this thing have, like, Stomping Tantrum? Oh, he's not responding, so I think he genuinely is watching Invincible right now, so fine. Let's talk about Daredevil first. Normally, I would have talked about Invincible first, but, fine, I'll throw Buddy a bone. Alright, Daredevil, Born Again, Season 2, Episode 2. Me personally, I felt like this episode was much stronger than the first episode. You know that, in my opinion at least, the premiere for Season 2 wasn't that strong of an episode. I enjoyed it, but it's like, it was, This episode I feel much stronger towards. I feel like I enjoyed this episode much more than the premiere. So, let's see. Episode 2 opens up with, you know, the paramedics taking Cherry to an ambulance, and then we see Matt in his new black suit just watching over as his friend gets trolleyed away in the ambulances, in the amber lambs. But something I loved, you know, a little detail I loved is that, you know, the flashing lights from the ambulance showed you Daredevil's suit. And because his suit is all black now, it's pretty stealthy, except for when the lights made the double D's on his chest light up. Like, the only thing you can see in the dark is his logo, his symbol on his chest, the double D's. I like that detail. And you know, obviously, if you didn't figure it out already, not me though, I knew right away. I knew this from the start, 100%. Like, if you couldn't figure it out yet, why is Matt's Daredevil suit black now? It's because, you know, vigilantes are wanted, they're criminals, according to Fisk's law. So, in order to actually move around as Daredevil, he needs to be more stealthy. So, a black suit makes him harder to see. Why have a very exposing double D emblem on his chest? I don't know. I wonder if we're ever gonna get a comment in the show. Like, I thought the double D's on my chest looked stupid at first. I still think it looks stupid. Like, we've been waiting for this look from the comics for pretty much since the beginning, you know? But after actually watching the show, learning and knowing the characters, yeah, it does just feel out of character for that to be there, plastered for everyone to see. But who cares? It looks cool, that's all that matters. It's like, damn, there's so many storylines in this episode, where do I start? I don't know, that's another thing, that's another issue I kind of have with Born Again compared to, like, the original show. And don't get me wrong, the original show had its fair share of characters as well. But, like, Born Again, there's just so many characters, there's so many plot points, it's kind of hard to follow. So, like, how did it you know, it go in terms of the sequence of events? I may be all over the place with this, since we are all over the place with the characters. Anyway, so after the opening credits, which kicks ass, a couple of storylines, so we do learn, we do follow up, actually. We follow up with Karen and Matt, still hiding out at Josie's bar. You know, that they're kind of wondering, why did Bullseye help them? Why did Poindexter save Matt's life? Well, it's probably because, well, despite the fact that he was wanted already, now vigilantes are wanted across the board. I don't know, maybe Poindexter is thinking to himself that we should all work together to take down a common foe first, before returning as enemies? I really would love to know what Fisk's mentality is towards the Avengers, you know? You know, now that Daredevil has 100% positively been folded into the MCU proper, it's like, it's kind of hard to believe still, you know? Back when Daredevil was still on Netflix, it was like a dream come true, or just a dream to see Daredevil ever cross over with any of the movie characters. And now that it's actually happening, it's like, wow, it's actually pretty hard to believe. I mean, we've had minimal crossovers, you know? We saw Matt Murdock in No Way Home, but that was very minimal. And, well, we're probably not going to get references to that considering Doctor Strange's spell. We got Matt in She-Hulk, sure, that was that even referenced? No, it wasn't. No, they referenced Echo, not She-Hulk. And the real only, like, proper crossover is Punisher in Brand New Day. Anyway, so speaking of Poindexter, we see him standing in a church, in a cathedral, and I think like the Saruman, whatever his name is, the priest character, was trying to see if he needed any help. This man, who obviously is Dex, asked if there's any nuns, and we actually did get, character name dropped. Sister Maggie. She's on a sabbatical in Rome. Well, hey, we got a Sister Maggie reference that explained where Matt's mother is. We also do see the screen turn blue. Like, genuinely, the entire lighting turns blue whenever Dex is around. And that's a recurring theme throughout the episode, even briefly in Season 1. I said this before. Me personally, I love Kingpin. I love Vincent D'Onofrio as Kingpin, but like, I kind of wouldn't mind if we sort of moved away from him and maybe let Bullseye take center stage for a little bit. I wouldn't necessarily mind. Remember back in Season 2 of Daredevil on Netflix where it was primarily the Hand, and Vincent D'Onofrio was a guest star in Season 2? Anyways, to the mayoral side, I feel there's more Mayor Fisk stuff than there is actual Daredevil stuff. So we see Fisk be the mayor of New York, and he actually does a pretty genius move here. They were going to need to explain this at some point. So, Fisk is talking to Buck Cashman, and Buck actually advises Fisk, it would make things easier. It would turn the tides in our favor if you were to just announce that Matt Murdock and Daredevil are one and the same. Fisk's reasoning does make a lot of sense, given his stance against vigilantes. It wouldn't be such a good idea to expose Matt Murdock, a man who saved his life, as a criminal. That just wouldn't work in the... Oops, wrong buttons. That just wouldn't work in the public eye. The vigilantes that Fisk claims are terrorists, that Fisk hates so much, well, one of them saved his life. That doesn't seem like a bad person to me. So, yeah, Fisk's reasoning for not exposing Matt's identity makes a lot of sense. Even though if it only makes sense for right now. Like, why didn't Fisk expose Matt's identity long ago? I mean, we already know, right? Fisk and Matt made a deal. But yeah, anyways, Fisk's mentality for not exposing Matt makes a lot of sense. And so what does he do? He spins it in his favor. He announces to the world, or at least to New York, as mayor that the man... Wait. Last year, or several months ago, I was attacked. I was targeted by a deadly vigilante known as Bullseye. And a man by the name of Matt Murdock saved my life. Whoa, get this, New York. Matt Murdock is... a hero! But he is missing. We must all band together to find him and bring this hero home. And it's actually pretty brilliant what he's doing here. Matt and Karen picked it up immediately. The citizens, they're going to be looking for Matt Murdock, but the anti-vigilante task force, or really anyone else, is going to be looking for Daredevil. So both sides of Matt's life are now targets. So that makes Matt doing anything at all way more difficult. Not gonna lie, pretty genius. We also see Fisk speaking with Powell, and damn, Powell is deep into this Kool-Aid of Fisk's. Powell is very much drunk on power. He is riding this, you know, to the very end. Because he shows Fisk he shows Fisk his dedication to the cause, willing to kill any and all vigilantes, not just vigilantes, but you know, citizens as well. That's a Mudsdale. That's good. Actually, there's a scientist right after it, and now I'm going towards a bug type. Maybe this is not good. So Powell meets up with Cole. Remember him? He's the one who killed Hector Ayala. And Cole, he wants back into the task force. He needs to claim vengeance for his boys in blue, or rather in this time, boys in black. You know, he needs to get all those vigilante fucks. So, Cole is back on the task force. We really do see the anti-vigilante task force really be, you know, inexcusable, unredeemable. Good. Good. Make us hate them. Make us cheer when their downfall comes upon us. So... over in the political White House or whatever, not the White House, the City Hall, we see Daniel and Sheila talking about this Fisk propaganda. You know, the video of someone dressed up as Fisk spreading, well, propaganda towards Fisk. Sheila is heavily advising Daniel to find out who this is, because this is inside information. Someone is leaking this info out. And there's only so many people who could have known this information to leak it out. Sheila, Buck, maybe Powell, I forget who he says, but, you know, Daniel himself as well. But Daniel assures it's not him. Anyway, so Sheila heavily advised that, well, if Fisk doesn't know about this, you should tell him, like, quickly, as soon as possible. We also learned that Fisk, or rather Vanessa is hosting like a dinner party later that evening. So Powell has already assigned a bunch more security, considering last time there was some sort of public event. Poindexter easily infiltrated it and almost took Fisk out. Unfortunately, Matt is just a good person and just had to take a bullet for him. Fisk also informs Powell about Cherry, who is recovering at Metro General. But but Cherry at Metro General, you know, he's a liability. He's a potential leak. Not really leak, but he's a potential, like, I don't want to say whistleblower. You know, he has the potential to take us down since he knows information. So, you know what to do. Clean up the mess. So the anti-vigilante task force do try to go to Metro General to take Cherry out, but thankfully a bunch of cops are there, you know, making a very public scene. So, two of the anti-vigilante task force, the AVTF, they just can't do their job, claiming we'll be back. So while they're in the elevator, the camera pans up to reveal the ceiling board open, and then we just, I don't know, it was kind of hilarious and probably not realistic, but it looked cool. When the elevator doors open, the two guys just stand there for a couple seconds before they both collapse at the exact same time. Like, yeah, that's realistic. And that's because Poindexter, Bullseye, killed both of them. Killed both of them on the spot. And once again, we see the screen, or rather this time, the entire inside of the elevator just turn blue whenever we see Poindexter on screen. I'm glad Wilson Bethel gets a chance to really shine with the character, because he was kind of done dirty with Daredevil being cancelled after Season 3. You know, his character never got a chance to blossom. So we do see throughout the episode, or periodically in the episode, Matt and Karen watching the the sunken ship in the harbor. They're watching to see what exactly they're retrieving from the wreckage. During daytime, they are retrieving what looks like diapers, you know, making it look like, oh, it's just an innocent cargo ship holding everyday household items. Nothing suspicious here. But then nighttime, yeah, guns, weapons, all of those start to get moved. Matt realizes this is like one of their only chances to expose everything of Fisk's, so they need to get into the port. But getting into the port would kind of be suicide at the moment, considering, as they put it, it's like a black hole. There's too many anti-vigilante task force there. But this is just an opportunity they can't pass up. We see at the nighttime party, or rather beforehand, we do see Buck giving Vanessa like 3 different guns to choose from to arm herself so that, you know, God forbid, Poindexter shows up again. It almost seems like Vanessa likes this, you know? She even thinks to herself that this isn't, you know, me arming myself isn't because isn't more of a need, like, isn't more of an I need, it's more of an I want. If that makes sense. But during the actual nighttime dinner event thing itself, we see we see Heather Glenn talking, and then Vanessa talking to her. Heather, you know, ever since she and Matt broke up, and also the fact that Matt Murdock is considered missing at the moment, Heather doesn't know what happened to Matt. She's just like, do you think either Daredevil or Punisher killed Matt Murdock? Vanessa's just like, no. No, I know they didn't. But we do see them both, or rather just Vanessa, during the conversation, first of all, realizing that Heather, she's kind of cuckoo now, kind of unstable, considering how close she's gotten with certain vigilantes and how traumatized she is by Muse. But we do also see Vanessa constantly check her surroundings, looking out the window for anyone watching. But little does she know, yep, Dex actually is watching. We see over at the Greek restaurant, the lady working there, the manager I guess, does actually get taken in by the task force under the guise of like harboring a fugitive. But that's not all we see the anti-vigilante task force do. Because we also follow with Angela, Remember her? Ah, you didn't forget about her. We follow Angela and I think her mother? You know, they're just walking, talking about Angela's uncle, Hector. You know, who I believe to be Angela's mother, is just like, what would life have been if he never put on that white tiger suit? He'd probably still be alive. But Angela, she is firmly grasping at the idea that what he did was the right thing. Well, they decide to go into a convenience store to grab some snacks. And then these, like, teens, these kids that seem like they know Angela, are trying to steal a wine bottle, but Angela's mother tries to tell them to put the bottle back in, but they just keep on deflecting. Until to the point that the clerk, the cashier guy, just pulls out a shotgun on them. The kids, scared out of their lives, you know, he drops a wine bottle, breaking it, shattering it, causing a mess, to where the guy, he just, he's telling them to clean it up. But then, an anti-vigilante task force guy just comes in and just smacks the dude across the face? Like, for what? Being a store owner and defending his business? I don't know, it's like, yes, you're aiming a shotgun at a bunch of kids, but then again, it's like, they were trying to steal. I mean, it's like, geez, how far does the whole anti-vigilante thing go? Because, like, is a shop owner having firearms defending his business considered vigilantism? I don't know, so it's like the anti-vigilante task force guy not only clocks the dude across the face, he also apprehends the kid for being a thief. But Angela's mother is trying to stop him from, like, beating his face in, to where it's like, this is assault on an officer. You're under arrest. It's like, what? And because of this, there's a huge stir. There's a huge, like, riot in the streets just because the anti-vigilante task force is completely out of hand, taking the law into their own, you know, taking the law into their own hands. Arresting, apprehending anyone they want, not just, you know, vigilantes. A little later, we see that Angela, instead of going home like her mother pleaded her to do, Angela goes to Kirsten's law firm, and it seems like she retrieves back the white tiger emblem, or the pendant, the charm, I forget what it's called. You know, totally teasing that she is going to don the white tiger mantle after her uncle. There was this scene where Daniel was called in to meet with Fisk, one-on-one. We see Fisk is also reviewing the quote-unquote report on Commissioner Gallo's body, how it was planted. His Omni-Man head, squished in, was ruled a car accident. You know, it's just like, did you know that it's more dangerous to drive after it rains instead of during the rain? Stuff like that. So yeah, they pinned Gallo's death, his head being smushed in, due to a car accident. So not only does he pretty much tell to Daniel's face, like, we'll get rid of you, don't worry, we'll get rid of you if we have to. But he also shows Daniel footage of the propaganda, someone dressing up as Fisk to spread propaganda in his name. And Fisk, he's not happy. He's very not happy, considering this is inside information that somehow got leaked out. So he questions Daniel, since Daniel is like the head of logistics department, whatever. you know, this is like Daniel's job to make sure this stuff doesn't happen, that doesn't leak out. And damn, despite how much Daniel looks up to Fisk, yeah, you can't be in his goodwill forever, you know? He'll throw you away if he has to. You know, Daniel's not one of those 100% loyals, kind of like Buck Cashman, kind of like Wesley. Because those guys, they're not intimidated by Fisk. Daniel is. So Fisk, being very not happy, just asked Daniel, I have 2 questions for you. Do you know who leaked this? No, sir, I don't. Alright, then let me ask you this. Do you have anyone in this building that you want to protect? He's like, yes, I do, sir. You. Good answer. Even Fisk is like, good answer, Daniel. So Daniel is now assigned to find who the hell leaked this information. So then we see later on, like more of this, we see Daniel invite BB Urich to dinner, where he cooks up dinner for her, makes her cock a van and some other dishes. And he pretty much confronts her without telling her straight up, like, are you spreading rumors about Fisk? Because remember, the first episode, we do know that BB tricked him into giving her information. So Daniel pleads, begs BB to stop if it is her. But we know that if it is BB, she's not going to stop. And yeah, you'd be right, because later on we see more Fisk propaganda, whoever this person is, in the white suit and Fisk mask. Pretty much spreading propaganda about Fisk. After this person is done recording, turns off the camera, takes out the mask, it is BB. Yeah, who could have guessed? I mean, out of all the characters we've met so far, BB made the most sense. Oh right, I forgot to mention that while in the hospital, they did sneak Cherry away. So Cherry is safe for now, but somewhere out there, we don't know where Cherry is. What else happened? Notice how I haven't really mentioned Matt or Karen this episode? Well, yeah. That's because the episode didn't really focus on them too much. So, at nighttime, after the whole dinner party thing, Vanessa is in bed trying to sleep, but she can't. She wakes up, walks through the window, the whole screen is blue, so you know something, including Dex, is about to happen. And then she just, like, teleports outside, under this bridge with all this fog, looking like something from, like, a 90s movies, maybe. Maybe something out of, like, the Addams Family. Or, like, I don't know, some sort of old movies you see in the 90s that take place in New York, using these kind of cinematographies or these set pieces. But we see Vanessa dream It's a dream. You knew it was. We see Vanessa have a nightmare about Dex hunting her, to where that startles her to wake up, and you know, Fisk comforting his wife. So we also see simultaneously, we see Vanessa and Fisk in bed. We also see Matt and Karen in bed, just talking about life. Vanessa tells Wilson that, you know, she wonders, do we have to live this kind of life? Because Fisk, he's just like, do you think we really would strive outside of all of this? And Vanessa, she thinks so. She hopes so. She has to. Because you have to understand why she thinks like this. Because this life is dangerous. This life puts a target on you 24/7. And someone like Poindexter is very dangerous, very capable. You can't blame Vanessa for wanting an easier, simpler, safer life, away from all of this. There was also a scene earlier where Fisk dressing up, Vanessa telling him that he doesn't have to do all this, you know? But Fisk, he just thinks, if I'm able to bring law and order to New York, shouldn't I be obligated to do this to the rest of the world? Despite the fact that Vanessa points out that Fisk has already built an empire, but no heir. That made me think, like, no heir. Are they teasing that maybe Fisk and Vanessa are gonna have their son, Richard? I don't know. Me personally, I think that'd be cool to see. But you know, I also couldn't help but notice these lines are like maybe a tease to Avengers Doomsday, despite these characters not being in that movie, probably. It's like, how many worlds must you conquer? Fisk just goes, how many are there? But yeah, we also see Matt and Karen in bed talking about like how they could potentially sneak Matt into the port without dying. Did you ever think life would lead to here? It's like, no. I like my place in Brooklyn. Or whatever he said. I miss my records though. And then Karen stands up and plays some record songs for Matt. They get up, they start dancing, but... excuse me. But then Matt gets disoriented because the anti-vigilante task force has found them. Well, there's also a scene where at Josie's bar, their fellow allies, some of the cops, show up to try to check on their wellness. But yeah, the anti-vigilante task force has found them. So Josie gets apprehended. Karen has to escape. And Matt has to suit up. He suits up very quickly. So Matt suits up as Daredevil and beats some ass. Karen, she sneaks out the back, and she actually manages to like discombobulate and take down a task force worker, or a task force cop. And we get this awesome fight scene where Matt takes on a couple of, anti-vigilante task force cops. It's such a mouthful to say all the time. So Matt swoops in, not only saves Josie, but also takes down the two cops. He screams at where Karen is, like trying to find her. At first I thought, maybe Poindexter got her, but no. They meet back up. Karen says that she needs to show Matt something. So they go to this place, I don't know where this is. And Karen reveals, well, they're hunting us. Maybe it's time that we hunt them. And she has an anti-vigilante task force cop tied up with a bag over his head. She managed to catch one. And unless I'm forgetting something, that's the episode. I just texted No Shame in Feeding. How's the episode so far? You know, in the episode there was also a name drop to the Bulletin. Like, as in the New York Bulletin, when Daniel was talking to Sheila. Oh right, Sheila, there was that as well. Still watching? Which part are you on? Like 2/3 in like the space fight. Yeah, I know your eyes are glued. I know your eyes are glued to the screen. But yeah, there was this scene where Daniel was talking to Sheila, where Sheila was heavily advising Daniel to tell Fisk. Daniel says, like, the Bulletin and some other sources haven't even picked up on this yet. More precisely, the meme scene. Uh-huh. Well, watch the episode faster, so I can talk about it. So yeah, it was cool to hear them reference the New York Bulletin. And also, we got the scene where Sheila tries to give Fisk some sort of, like, paper, like some sort of folder with mayoral business. But then Fisk isn't in the room, he was just hiding in the corner for some reason. Sheila goes in and notices a file on Gallo. Maybe he purposely left it out for Sheila to see, like, almost like a warning, don't you double cross me. I can get rid of you and anyone, anytime I need to. So she very intimidatingly tells Sheila that she did good. May I walk you out, Miss Sheila? Well, there's still time, so I'll wait for No Shame in Feeding to tell me when he's done the episode, unless we start running out of time. Or, unless I get the shiny right now. No. Can you believe we've already done like 10 of these so far? If we don't get it tonight, then it'll be like 20 hours of going for the shiny. 1 in 100 odds my ass. I have a lot to say about this Invincible episode. I have a lot. Wow, none of the NPCs are attacking! Despite Lairon being able to use rock or steel moves, and then Dusclops able to use ghost type moves, wow, none of them are attacking! Hello, 1987 Fazbar. That's a great name. Yeah, I have so much to say about that Invincible episode. Like, there's so much. And there's a good number of stuff I want to mention that's, like, not even in the episode itself. Well, kinda. Okay. Watch it be replaced by the scientist. Okay, it's not as bad as I was expecting. Let's see. Ooh, Crawdont. I was looking at that other thing. I thought that was a Alolan Executor, but it's like, no, Alolan Executor is not normal type. I'll finish this round and then I'll start talking. Because, you know, I'll talk about the beginning of the episode, and by the time I get to the good stuff, you'll probably be done. Yo, how the hell? How the hell did a bot just twice in the chat, whatever. Alright, let's see. No. Okay, let me pick and then let's get talking. None of these choices are great. Well, actually, I should probably take this. Electric is good for water, and Body Slam... Wait. Yeah, Body Slam turns to ice, so that would be good against any ground types. See? Thinking. Well, not unless the ground type is also half rock. That rock is a Relicanth. And I think, wait, that flying is a Mantine. I just spilled some water. Okay, let's talk about Invincible. Whether no shame in feeding is done or not. I mean, I'm gonna talk about the beginning of the episode first, obviously, so he should be past that point. He said himself he's 2/3 in, roughly. Debating if I should Dynamax or not. I will. Alright, so this episode opens up right where we left off the last episode, obviously. We begin seeing Alan showing his, like, quote-unquote cat pictures to Eve, his alien cat. Eve is just like, hey, it is kind of cute. Wait, does it have 2 buttholes? So we follow up with Mark and Nolan after catching up. All of the explaining happening off-screen, probably for the best, that Mark now knows Nolan's initial mission was to come to Earth to see if he could breed with humans. So Nolan tries to recruit Mark for the Coalition of Planets, this war against the Viltrumites. And like I said last time, even though Mark says no, or is hesitant at first, yeah, he still agrees. He agrees to regardless because he knows he has no choice. It was hard to watch, eh? Don't worry, I'll get to that. Trust me. Alright, so... Oh, let me show you something. Let me send you something. It's just a comment I saw, which I'll go over afterwards. Okay, so... Mark reluctantly agrees to join Nolan, to go with Nolan. Nolan says it's like a 2-week trip to Telescria. Alright, so at least they're trying to be somewhat realistic. Because, you gotta remember, Conquest, he escaped at the end of episode 1, and then he made it all the way back to Viltrum at the end of episode 2. It's like, can these guys just move beyond the speed of light? But whatever. Nolan, he's not done yet being back on Earth. He also wants to see Debbie first. Despite that being a colossal bad idea. But he's set on doing it anyway, so he tells Alan to go and find Tech Jacket and recruit her to join. So Nolan, he is about to, you know, ring the doorbell to what was his own house. He was about to ring the doorbell and see his wife face to face again, but he actually chickens out. It isn't until Debbie opens the door and lets him in. Well, it's like, did someone tell Debbie that Nolan was back? How did she know he was standing right there? Then again, I suppose, given the world they live in, how Debbie, being Invincible's mother, would put her at risk, would make her a target. Yeah, her house probably is hooked up with security systems. Maybe she has a Ring doorbell. So Nolan goes in, Debbie is silent. Nolan apologizes. I'm not gonna lie, it was actually a pretty decent apology, you know? It's not on the level as, like, the typical YouTuber apologies that we see. His apology actually wasn't that bad, but considering everything he does, or everything Nolan did, he kind of still cannot be forgiven, despite having a pretty strong apology. But Debbie, she's still pretty mad at him. You know, for everything he did, for leaving. 2 months after he left, he had Oliver with Andressa, and damn, put some disrespect to her name. He's just like, Andressa was a mistake. I didn't know what I was doing. I love you, not her. It's like, oof, that's rough. Thank God Oliver wasn't around to hear that. So Nolan just tries his best to apologize, but Debbie's not having it. Nolan says that he misses her. But of course Debbie misses him too, or missed him. She did miss him. To where she actually throws some punches towards Nolan, and this is where I kind of begin to question a little bit. So Debbie punched Nolan in the chest 3 times. 2 times with her right hand, and 1 time with her left. The second time she punched with her right arm, her knuckles were all fucked up, scraped up, completely missing skin. And I just can't help but think, is Nolan's new suit made of sandpaper? Or like, are Viltrumite's muscles so dense she's punching equivalent to concrete? But even if that's the case, damn, you know how hard Debbie had to punch? Like, you know how hard Debbie had to punch for 2 punches for her knuckles to be all scraped up? Even when she's distraught, emotional, she was able to channel all her force into those punches. So yeah, unless the suit is made of sandpaper, she punched hard enough to where 2 punches straight into the equivalent of a concrete wall completely scraped off all the skin off her knuckles. It's like, holy crap. You're afraid to take a punch from Nolan? Nah, you should be afraid to take a punch from Debbie. Bro is not a good talker. But, yeah. So, Debbie does not forgive Nolan. She tells him to get the fuck out of her life and never come back. And, well, Nolan, he just super speed dashes out of there. I saw this comment online. The fact that he didn't fly through the roof this time is already an improvement. Yeah. Oh yeah, there's one more thing I want to point out that might be a bit of a plot hole, and believe me, I have plot holes to point out in this episode. So after Mark agreed to go with Nolan to Telestria, which is like a 2-week trip, Mark said, alright, tomorrow morning, we'll leave. Because Nolan wants to waste no time. It's like a 2-week trip to Telestria, so the sooner they leave, the better. And Mark said, okay, tomorrow. Tomorrow morning we'll leave. So Mark talks with Debbie. They're sitting in the dark. And Mark pretty much tells Debbie that he has to. Yeah, exactly what I was about to say. And they have dinner while the sun sets. I'll talk about that in just a moment, trust. But, you know, Debbie reluctantly agrees to allow Mark to go, since he kinda has no choice. If Mark doesn't go, then the Viltrumites will just come back and attack. maybe this is their chance to stop them once and for all. He has to take that risk. Oliver shows up, questioning why they're just sitting in the dark. And Oliver, pretty upset that Nolan is back and didn't even come to see him. Oliver wants to help out as well, considering he wasn't there to help his first mother on Thraxa. He's not going to be absent for the fight this time to defend this mother and this home on Earth. So Debbie agrees to let Oliver go as well. But before they leave, Debbie wants one thing. And that one thing is a nice family dinner. One last moment of peace. And yeah, that was nice. They sat down, they set up chopsticks and bowls of rice, and they had Korean food? You gotta keep in mind that Debbie is Korean, making Mark half Korean. Totally not because, you know, Steven Yeun being Korean. Ahem. But yeah, so here's one plot hole I couldn't help but notice. By the time that Nolan showed up, it was already sun setting. You know, the sun was already setting. Nolan, when he spoke to Debbie, was already nighttime. Like, it was already dark outside. And then, when they were setting up dinner, it was bright outside again? And then they were eating until it was dark outside again? Wait a second, I thought Mark was gonna leave tomorrow morning. But it seems like 2 days has passed. Wait a minute. I don't know, while the family is having a good time, Nolan, he almost jump scares Art and surprises him with another 6-pack of beer. So the two old friends catch up. You know, Art does question his attire that honestly nobody likes. Everyone is questioning why his suit is now ugly as hell. Just like, damn, I never sent you out without any shoes. Nolan, he just has those dogs out. You know, all those toesy-woesies out for everyone to see. Not gonna lie, that suit ugly as hell. But yeah, so Nolan kind of just offers that once we're done, I'll even let you make me a brand new suit. Get me out of this thing, you know? But Art, he's just like, well, I kind of closed your tab, or closed your account. Nolan, I only make costumes for heroes. And he's just like, oh, okay. Damn, you can really see the pain on his face there. It's like, oh, I'm no longer seen as a hero. Alright. Well, Nolan leaves and Art can finally take a deep breath. It's like, I didn't die. You gotta give it to Art. He kept his composure exceptionally well. Considering he just got jump scared by Omni-Man of all people, who doesn't really have a great reputation, considering what happened the last time he was present on the planet. But anyway, so Mark and Eve, they sleep together, not like that. They sleep together one last time naked, not like that. And, you know, they're sharing a nice close moment for the last time. Potentially for the last time, considering that, you know, Mark is going away to space again. Very dangerous, don't know if he'll survive. Eve almost tells Mark, hey, by the way, I'm pregnant. Like, Eve almost tells him. God damn it, Robert Kirkman! But she decides not to, just because Mark, he's going to do something pretty dangerous, pretty difficult. He doesn't want this weighing on his mind. And, you know, imagine, God forbid, Mark actually does die. He would die knowing that his unborn child is Capital F fucked. So anyways, we do see them, next morning we do see them depart for the venture. One last goodbye. Oliver actually packs not only clothes, but like video games as well? It's like, buddy, I'm sorry to tell you, but given what happens later in the episode, those gaming consoles are gone. All your progress are gone. Me personally, I barely feel comfortable bringing my Switch onto a cruise ship. I sure as hell wouldn't bring it out to space. You feel me? So, they fly up to the Venture, the ship, and, you know, it's a nice callback to the meme material from the first season. I was like, how do we breathe in space? That's the neat part. You don't. Well, Mark didn't say you don't. He just says that's the neat part. So they make it to the Venture. Oh, wait, there was one more thing. Alan, recruiting Tech Jacket. So, we meet Tech Jacket, finally. Properly. Tech Jacket, she's fighting one of the members of the Order. His name is, would you believe, The Walking Dread? Robert Kirkman. Tech Jacket is fighting off The Walking Dread, where he plugs electric sources into his nipples? Okay. Well, anyway, she fights off the Walking Dread. And it turns out that her father is in like a space station overwatching her and like telling her the best things to do in the fight. It seems like Tech Jacket's a little on the younger side. You know, to where she can't even say the dreaded F word without her father getting upset. So anyways, yeah, after she finishes fighting the Walking Dread, her father calls her back up to the space station, you know, the Justice League space station, because Alan is there waiting. Yeah, different from the comic counterpart. I'll talk about that too. Alan, he shows up to recruit Tech Jacket into the fight. I don't know, the pitch is kinda... well, it's kinda hard to pitch, you know? Can I take your superpowered child to go a couple light years away, maybe, to a distant planet to fight off the strongest creatures in the universe that want to take over said universe, and will kill without mercy? And her father just, like, happily lets her go? Wow, that was easy. Barely an inconvenience. Anyway, so now they're all aboard the Venture. Mark and Oliver aboard. When Nolan sees Oliver, he's not happy. But Oliver, yeah, this should have been a happy reunion, but Oliver's not happy that Nolan's not happy. Nolan, he didn't want Oliver in this, just so he doesn't mess up another one of his son's lives. Tech Jacket also shows up. By the way, her name is Zoe. Instead of Zach from the comments from the comics, her name is now Zoe. And we see potentially why they gender bent the character. So we do see maybe a small little seed planted where Oliver and Zoe might hook up, might be a thing. I mean, they're around the same age. So I heard this online. One theory as to why they gender bent Tech Jacket is that, you know, so Oliver doesn't have a bug kink. Have you seen the panel where Oliver brings home a giant insect? He has the hots for insects. Yeah, maybe they wanted to prevent that from the show. So they gender bent this character so that Oliver doesn't bring home, yeah, lobster wife. And you know what? I feel like that's a good enough sacrifice. I feel like, yeah, Nolan being with Andressa was already a pretty weird picture to paint in your head. So imagine Oliver bringing home a ginormous insect on Earth. Yeah, you know what? Maybe them race-bending tech jacket was a good idea. You know, when he was eating a lobster, he was like kind of hot, and then continued to eat it. So we see these guys flying on the Venture. I feel like I'm skipping over a lot of stuff. We see them flying towards Telescria. Forgot the name for there for a second. We see them flying towards there on the Venture. It's gonna take like 2 weeks. So get comfortable. Plenty of time to get to know each other. Yada yada yada. We see our characters hanging out for a bit, Oliver wanting nothing to do with his father. Yeah. And, well, considering the Venture is pretty dilapidated, the food processor, which is nothing like it was on Legends of Tomorrow. Nolan, he orders this slop, and then he flashes back to a simpler time where he was, I think, in like Italy, on a dinner date with Debbie, where Debbie tastes the pasta and she's just like, this is better than sex. Who are you, Vox? Nolan tries and is like, yep, you're right, this is better than sex. And then Debbie, Debbie being the fox that she was, it's like, you give up too early. Don't speak too soon. Ooh, Nolan misses that Debbie. Puh. Damn, Nolan knew. Even Nolan knew he fumbled the bag hard. Even though Debbie is 20 years older and Nolan looks the same, he still knows that he fumbled. Damn, that must have been some crazy cooch. What? If even Paul fell for it, I mean... But can you imagine for a second, actually... If you were in a relationship with, like, a Viltrumite type of being on Earth, or like a Kryptonian, what have you. It's like, damn, just imagine. You would be able to fly to any part of the world for dinner whenever you want. You can go shopping wherever you want in the world. You can visit family. Any place in the world. Wouldn't that be nice? You know, that's partially why, if I were to have superpowers, my choice would be teleportation / being able to open portals. I could visit family, I could travel, I could, you know, open a portal to a bank vault. Endless possibilities. Or better yet, think about this. No commute to work. I could, quote-unquote, sleep in, and then, oh, I have 1 minute until I need to clock in? Alright, let me just open a portal and go there. How nice would that be? Be the fastest Uber delivery driver alive. Oh, did you just order this, ma'am? It was 10 seconds ago since I ordered it. Yeah, and? I say that deserves a tip, yes? Anyways, enough of this stuff. Let's get on to the good stuff about the episode. So, Tech Jacket's suit detects some sort of anomaly, which, by the way, I should also mention Tech Jacket's design. She's kind of like Blue Beetle. And her face, like her female design, is very Miraculous Ladybug, right? I can't be the only one who thinks she looks like Marinette Chang, or whatever her name is. You know, call me crazy. I've heard that show might have like a banger storyline and awesome characters, but you know, that's kind of like a kid's show meant for little girls, so I don't know if it's necessarily you know, the best look for me if I were to actually watch it. I don't know, I think that's a show aimed for like 10-year-old girls, not for someone like me. Says the guy playing Pokemon. Hey. Moving on. So yeah, the ship pretty much gets attacked. The ship gets attacked where the people on the bridge have no choice but to detach from like 90% of the rest of the ship, which gets completely obliterated. So the front of the ship just has to fly off, otherwise they dead. They had no choice but to leave all their heavy hitters behind, just floating in space. So Oliver gets the wind knocked out of him, but thankfully he's alive. And then we see a big-ass Viltrumite ship where 3 Viltrumites come to attack. We get a brand new Viltrumite. I don't think we learned his name yet. A brand new Viltrumite with mutton chops and a handlebar mustache. We see Lucan back, and we see Conquest back. Yo, I'm not gonna lie to you guys. I'm like kind of obsessed with Conquest. Conquest is like my new favorite character in the show. Previously in Invincible, my favorite characters were the Mauler twins, but then they killed them off. And then we got to see Conquest, and I'm just like, yo, this guy, he's him. And obviously it helps very much that he is voiced by Jeffrey Dean Morgan. I know at first I said, I don't know about Jeffrey Dean Morgan voicing him. But it's like, obviously it's a fantastic casting. It's Jeffrey Dean Morgan, for God's sake. You know, he was Joe Kessler on The Boys, and also a small role you may have heard of, Negan on The Walking Dead. Give me a second. Anyways, yeah, Conquest is back, which must be a shock to Mark. Mark very much believed that he killed Conquest. Anyway, so they fight. A big, awesome, very well animated fight scene in space. And you have to keep in mind that these guys, how do they breathe in space? That's the neat part. They don't. They just hold their breath for a very long time. So Conquest, he fights Oliver first of all. Lucan actually just separates Mark from Oliver. So Oliver, he is able to move very fast, but he gets grabbed by Conquest, and Conquest is about to Omni-Man him like he did to Red Rush, until Nolan actually swoops in and saves Oliver. And this is something I've wanted to see since Conquest got introduced. I wanted to see a full-blown fight between Nolan and Conquest. Sadly, we didn't get that. We didn't really get that. They had very little interaction in the episode. Anyway, so primarily it's Mark fighting Conquest. We see Alan and Tech Jacket fighting against the Viltrumite with the handlebar mustache. And Lucan as well. And then we see primarily the Graysons fighting off against Conquest. Anyways, more fighting. Oliver, he needs to breathe, so Nolan points him to a very convenient nearby planet to where you know, there's atmosphere, so he can actually breathe. I guess every planet in the universe just happens to have oxygen. But, isn't that always convenient, you notice, in these shows and movies? Okay, give me a second, I'll be right back. I gotta take care of one thing real quick, and then I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. Okay, so during the fight, I really couldn't help but notice this potential plot hole that has been the case for, like, the entire show. Is it just me, or has this still not been answered this entire show? So let me explain something to you guys real quick, something throughout the show. How do they communicate in space? You might be thinking, oh, that's obvious. Alan has a brain implant that allows people to communicate telepathically. But oh no, 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 no. Remember one thing. Remember one thing. First of all, remember the moment that Alan was in that, like, outer space restaurant where he got attacked by the Viltrumites? They were communicating back and forth. Alan versus 3 Viltrumites at that moment. Thula, Lucan, and Vidor. They were all communicating back and forth. Alright? So that happened before anything else. And then, after Alan got beat to death, after Alan got huge and swole, he made it to Earth where Immortal fought him. Remember that? And then remember how Mark had to intervene? Like, oh, by the way, we can't communicate back and forth like that. I know there's an update. They're telling me that there's going to be an update coming for that soon. Wait a second. Remember that? So before the update, to allow multi-communication between several individuals, Alan was already able to communicate with the Viltrumites back and forth throughout several communicators. Unless they just coincidentally knew when one stopped talking to attack. Okay, fine. Let's say he got the update, and Alan is now able to allow everyone in the vicinity to communicate telepathically. Well, if that's the case, then how do the Viltrumites know about it? Alan doesn't really just go around telling others. you know? When Conquest first showed up in this episode, he immediately Professor X'd his thoughts into Mark and Oliver's heads. So, like, wait a second, are you now telling me that all Viltrumites are able to communicate with their minds in space? Are you telling me that maybe all Viltrumites have this implant as well? Or are you telling me Alan is able to allow everyone to do this and the Viltrumites just happen to be aware about it? Yo, this is a plot hole that has been present the entire show. They tried to explain how everyone communicates in space via their thoughts, but it kind of fell apart. Anyway, so Oliver being on the planet Conquest, yo, that screenshot. Conquest moves so fast, he just teleports behind Oliver, getting ready to dunk on him. At least until Mark intervenes. Yo, let me tell you. I've seen edits of that screenshot going around like this. Conquest dunking a basketball. Yo, this might be my new favorite meme ever. This is like the funniest thing I've ever seen. Conquest dunking a basketball. This is like the best thing I've ever seen in my entire life. But Mark intervenes, saving Oliver. And Mark has an idea of how to take care of Conquest once and for all. Choke him to death. Kind of like Conquest almost choked Mark. What? Choked Mark to death? Mark now offers the same retaliation, choking Conquest to death. Let's see, out in space, Nolan realizes, where's Mark? Where's Conquest? Oh, they're on the planet? Alright, you guys escape from the battle. Flee the battle, you can't win. So, Tech Jacket comes up with an idea for both her and Alan to escape this siege of attack, because there's also these, like, minions that fight on behalf of the Viltrumites, these minions, which is a race that the Viltrumites conquered, and they have guns and blasters. You know, one thing I couldn't help but notice, Tech Jacket and Alan, they were just floating there talking for a brief moment, wondering what to do. These minions, they were firing a lot of shots their direction, and not one landed. Like, holy shit, how bad is their aim? They hit everything out there except for them. And there is nothing out there. It's space. Star Wars aim. Anyways, so Tech Jacket has this idea. They fly towards their ship and hide on the ship, evading their sensors. So back on the planet, they are moving super fast. Mark and Conquest are flying across the planet. Mark, having like the strongest will I have ever seen, does not let up. His hands are on Conquest's neck the entire time. No matter how many blows Conquest threw at Mark, yo, his grip was staying there. There's nowhere to hide in space. Yeah, that was stupid of the Viltrumites too. They were thinking, where are they? It's space. There's nowhere to hide. Yo, dumbasses, you're in a ship the size of a mini planet. Where the fuck do you think they're hiding? Anyways, I'll get back to that. So, Conquest, no matter how many times he punches Mark to try to get him off, Mark just won't let up. I kind of question why Conquest didn't just, like, you know, maybe, like, clap Mark's head like Mark did to Conquest. Like, I'm sure Conquest could muster up enough force to just fatality Mark in that moment. Why didn't he just, like, both arms on Mark's head and just snap his neck. And if that's too much, why didn't Conquest just break Mark's arms? I'm sure if he just stood still for a moment, he could just, like, one arm, given his thick-ass sausage fingers, he could just one arm underneath Mark's elbow, the other hand just karate chop. His arm would be clean off. I don't know why Conquest didn't just, like, break Mark's arms. But whatever. And one more thing. Another plot hole I couldn't help but notice, and I prepared screenshots. He started... Wait. I thought he started ripping Mark's eyes out or something, but never happened. Yeah, there's that too. Remember what I told you, folks. If you're able to think in the moment, because when you're being choked, your brain is in panic mode. But if you are able to think, there are two things you can do if you're being choked. Number one, go towards the eyes. Use your thumbs, poke the eyes, even though Mark bit off his thumb. But still, go for the eyes, or go for the thumbs. The hands on your neck choking you, try to like break the thumbs. The grip is gone. And if not, then I guess you're gonna see the pearly gates. So let me show you something real quick. I brought the screenshots to show you. So if you look right here, this is from the actual video itself posted on YouTube. You can see both of Conquest's eyes are red. Look at the timestamp. And then, 10 seconds later, Conquest's eye is white again! Yo! What is it with all the continuity errors with Conquest's eye? These animators cannot get his fucking eye correct! There was an animation error with Conquest's eye last season as well! Here, let me show you again. His eye is red here. 10 seconds later, his eye is white again. You see that? His right eye, left eye to us, his left eye, wait, yeah, it's red and then white. 10 seconds later, it's white again. You see that? Anyway, so Conquest just keeps on beating Mark, but he just refuses to let up. You might also be wondering, if Viltrumites are able to hold their breath for weeks in space, how did simply choking Conquest work? Well, you have to remember, not only is there restricted airflow, there's also restricted blood flow to the brain. And then, ooh, I know you're waiting for me to mention this, the ending. This is like one of the goriest things I have ever seen in my life. And believe me, I've seen gory things. I mean, majority of the time though, the gory things I see, one, lead to death, and two, happen pretty quick. Just look at the Mortal Kombat fatalities, how fast those are. But this... So, Conquest, in one last effort to get Mark off him, he takes his arm, jabs clean through Mark's abdomen. There's a big hole in Mark's guts, and he just keeps on yanking them out, pulling out his guts constantly. Oh my lord. That is horrific. You gotta give Mark credit. Like I said, Mark's will was the strongest I have ever seen in anything. Because even having his guts pulled out constantly, Conquest kept on reaching in and pulling them out. Mark still held a grip strong enough to actually choke and kill Conquest for real this time. And I'm just thinking, aww, I like Conquest. Very much, I like Conquest. Damn, now he's dead. We only ever got 2 action scenes with him. Aww. Damn you, Robert Kirkman. Making us attached to characters just to kill them off so quickly. But yeah, it's like, I don't know what's worse. the fact that Mark didn't die from it, or that he should have. Like I said, all the gory things I've seen in life, it happens quickly. And it leads to death. There is a sweet relief of death afterwards. Mark, no. No, he's alive. He's living through that. And you have to keep in mind, too, that at the end of the episode, Telia is on the phone with Thetis, and she is ordered to return to Telestria, but she's distraught that she had to leave them behind. You have to keep in mind that they are now stranded on a distant planet. It's only them. You know, it's only Nolan, Oliver, and Mark. They have no backup, no resources. Mark is pretty fucked. You know, it's not like they're also on their way to Telestria, which I assume has medical resources. But yeah, that is like some of the goriest things I've ever seen. Just constantly ripping it out. Remember in Walking Dead when Morgan pulled out that one savior's guts? One strand of intestine came out and he instantly died. This was so much worse. This is like one of the worst deaths or worst actions I've ever seen. Yeah, we also do see Tech Jacket, or Zoe, and Alan. They're latched onto the ship thanks to Tech Jacket's armor, creating a little seal, little disguise for them. Zoe mentioned she saw it in a movie once, which I believe is a reference to a Star Wars movie. And amazingly enough, the armor has video games. But if they're on their way back to Planet Viltrum, then yeah, they are absolutely fucked as well. We know Mark survives from this. And I also saw this. This is like one of the best comments I've ever read. I read this comment online. The only thing keeping Mark alive was the thought of what he'll do to Cecil when he gets back to Earth. Oh, that's right. Speaking of Cecil, we did have one small scene with him where, yes, they were indeed tracking the Venture. They take a sigh of relief when they leave, no conflict. And Cecil mentions that for the first time in like 20 years, Earth is Viltrumite free. Is that a good thing or is that a bad thing? Well, it would be a bad thing if any other Viltrumite decided to attack at that moment. Anyways, did I miss anything from the episode? I'm about to end this. Man, they killed off Conquest so soon. I really wanted to see a full-blown fight between Conquest and Nolan. But we didn't really get that. But yeah, we also do see... we did see Lucan and the other Viltrumite constantly wondering, where are they? It's space, there's nowhere to hide. Brother, you're in a giant spaceship. You're in a spaceship the size of a Destraya from the Kirby anime. But yeah, I can't wait to see Mark confront Cecil when he gets back to Earth. Alright, I'll see you guys next time.